All right, Hunter Biden's attorneys are vowing to fight the new 9-count indictment against the president's son, charging him with failing to pay $1.4 million in federal taxes. Special counsel David Weiss says Hunter Biden actually had plenty of money to pay the taxes, earning $7 million in income between 2016 and 2020. Instead, they say Hunter Biden lived what the Justice Department calls a quote, extravagant lifestyle. Prosecutors allege he used business funds for, quote, payments for various women, end quote, more than $680,000, and, quote, clothing and accessories, nearly $400,000, and, of course, quote, unquote, adult entertainment to the tune of nearly $200,000.
How much adult entertainment do you need if you've got $600,000 worth of various women?
Don't know, Mick. Not sure. Joining us now to discuss the charges, NewsNation legal contributor Jesse Weber.
I hope that's not the first question.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you that. So the charges. How serious is this?
Serious. The stakes have been raised, certainly. I mean, you're talking about something, these cases are, first of all, relatively straightforward to prove. But there's a difference between not paying your taxes, which is he's charged with, and then willfully evading your taxes. He's also accused of filing false tax returns, lying to accountants. So when you think about it, you know, they always talk about would he have been charged if he wasn't Hunter Biden. Part of me thinks he wouldn't have been. But also I think the deal that he was offered, right, the deal that he was offered to 2 misdemeanors out in Delaware when prosecutors knew they had these much more serious charges in California, it makes you wonder, was that deal offered, the maybe, I don't want to say sweetheart deal, but because he's Hunter Biden? Because this is very, very serious from what he was facing.
So here's Abby Lowell, the attorney for Hunter Biden, and you just referenced it. He said, quote, if Hunter's last name were anything other than Biden, the charges in Delaware and now California would not have been brought. Expand upon what you say. What do you think, and elaborate?
I got to tell you, it's the same thing that we talk about with Donald Trump, right? You know, was it brought for political reasons? It doesn't take away from the fact, is this illegal conduct, and can it be proven in a court of law? Nothing will change that, whether or not it would be prosecuted or not. These allegations, if you take all the facts as true, is criminal conduct, and it actually puts Abby Lowell in a difficult position to try to defend it. I think the best way you defend it, and it's actually an interesting argument, is saying that the prior plea deal, the original plea deal that blew up, that was signed by a prosecutor. There were immunity provisions in that. So if he can convince a judge that these charges should never have been brought, I think that's the best way you go about defending it, because otherwise you're trying to work through the weeds of what these expenses are and what these numbers are, and that could be really, really difficult.
Got it. Nick?
You know, I'm looking at this from a little bit of a different perspective, just pure politics, because we don't know, right? The indictment is going to look really, really bad because it's an indictment, right? And he's innocent until proven guilty. I get all of that. It's Abby Lowell's vocabulary that struck me.
Yeah, and Jesse just kind of hinted at that, too.
Exactly. This is exactly Donald Trump's language. It's completely sort of contemplatable. There are swing voters out there going, wait a second. The DOJ might be going after Trump because his name is Trump. They might be going after Biden because his name is Biden. I don't like the DOJ going after anybody because of what their last name is. That actually helps Donald Trump in a roundabout way politically.
Jesse, I was wondering, you know, I'm an attorney, not a great one. I'm a recovering attorney, just to be clear. But you're a real one, and you play one on TV. And I'm just wondering, what do you think about the Abby Lowell situation just in terms of overplaying his hand? Because what I see is 2 problems for Hunter and the Bidens at large, which is one's the political problem that Mick was just alluding to, and also just the numbers are just super bad, right? Like, most Americans can't imagine spending $640,000 on clothes or any of the other things. But do you think Abby Lowell is actually overplaying his hand and getting him in more trouble than he's helping him?
I don't necessarily think so. I think he's being quite aggressive, right? I mean, they're filing lawsuits against different people. And when you're dealing with such a public figure, when your father is the president of the United States, you're not only fighting this in a potential court of law, you're fighting in the court of public opinion with the election around the corner. I think that definitely comes into play. And the more that you can say that this is politically motivated, the more you might put pressure. Or maybe even I'll suggest this. You know, the idea of his father pardoning him for this. The more you can create the narrative that these charges should have never been brought, it's politically motivated. If Biden decides to pardon his son, that might be a pill that people will be able to swallow. So the more that Abby Lowell brings this up, the more it might make sense down the road. Not saying it'll happen, but it's something that I thought about.
I do not think that he should be pardoned.
I'm not saying he should or shouldn't, but, you know.
And it's not just language, right, Jesse? You know who also has this very unfortunate habit of paying off women is former President Donald Trump.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.